Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Here's the snap back to throw, gets hit, and he goes down. Indiana sacks him, and it is Aiden Fisher, the linebacker, who flips him on the ground. A -6 on the play, and Indiana doing a heck of a job defensively again. Gonna hand the ball off. Here's the snap, the handoff goes to Nowakowski. He dives his way to the end zone. Touchdown! Indiana scores and takes the lead at 9-0.
So Dylan Joyce back on. Blocked! Indiana blocks the punt and falls on it for a touchdown! Isaiah Jones on the recovery.
Here's the snap. Fernando looks. Going to throw it down the field for Charlie Becker. And does he make the catch? He made the catch! Charlie Becker again. This guy is phenomenal.
Field goal block, team off to get some pass rushers back on there. Here we go. Got to get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone. Touchdown! J. Daniels is the veteran presence. He's on the right side, but D'Angelo Pons is across from him. Brown is the back. Beck steps up, delivers downfield, intercepted! Jamari Sharp makes the pick that will clinch Indiana's first national championship.
Here's the snap, and this time they're just going to go down to the ground, and that will do it. And the rags to riches story for Indiana football comes to conclusion, and they are the national champions of 2026. What a football team! What a football team!
Welcome to the National Championship Edition, Hoosier Happy Hour, episode 294. Your Indiana Hoosiers are the world national college football champions of the world universe. Something like that. What's up, Brando?
Oh, I think I've recovered mentally, emotionally, and physically to the greatest sporting event I've ever been at, I've ever watched, and it's hard to think anything will ever top your first time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, unbelievable, right? You think about, we've done this before. I think like top sporting events, everybody wants to go to I was at the Watt Shot. I was at the Watt Shot. I mean, it was great at the time. 29 years later, whatever it's been, not that long, like 14, 15, 16 years ago. Ignore the coughing in the background, by the way. Got a sick kid. We'll try to make that as limited as possible. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like live sporting events, and there's literally nothing that could hold a candle to it. I mean, the one thing would be maybe AFC Championship, Colts, Patriots, but I wasn't there. So, I mean, but again, this is, I don't want to steal too much thunder if there is any thunder in a final statement or anything from you, but it's finally starting to sink in now on a Thursday afternoon. As you said, recovered mentally, physically, emotionally. I'm not sure I've recovered emotionally yet, but it's finally nobody can take this from us. Like, we are literally the champions of all college football.
And I told this to Sasha, and expecting her to be mad at this statement, but she said it actually made sense. So I'm going to say it. Like, on your wedding day, there's so much going on, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's pictures, and then there's the ceremony, and then there's happy hour.
Hi to everybody, and yeah.
And there's just so much is going on. Like, you don't actually get the feeling of like, holy cow, we're married. Like, we did this. Like, it doesn't set in for a while. That's the only comparable feeling that I had to this, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like, you just said it just set in for you. It set in for me about 24 hours after, like when we were in the midst of the travel, when I'm like sitting waiting to board the plane, right? Like it didn't set into me just that there's no one else to beat. We beat everybody.
Everybody.
You know, like some teams are like, oh, well, if Ohio State would have played this one, or if Alabama would have played, bro, we went 16-0. There is no hypothetical that any team can say was like, well, they lost to so-and-so, and if they had played so-and-so, no. They went 16-0, beat everyone, including the 4th-ranked team twice. There is no, well, what would have happened if they would have played that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's set in that this is one of the best and arguably the best college football teams ever assembled.
And so a lot of people want to point to the 2019 LSU team, and at a NFL talent and on-field skill position talent point of view, I can understand that. But you said it, college football team of all time, like starting from the head coach all the way down to the managers and everything was, in the most literal fact possible, perfect. Everything. Now the games didn't necessarily go perfectly, right? I mean, it was going great for a long time on Monday. And we started to see some of these things come in. But again, you go and look at, you can't hit any metric. You can't be upset with anything. IU is number 1 or number 2 or whatever, except for strength of schedule across the board in every single metric possible, as well as the one that I saw at the end of the season, now that's officially over, wins against top 10 opponents.
Top 10.
IU number 1 is in that as well, and has 6 wins. Second place, I believe, is only 4 wins against top 10 opponents on the season. So, and even then, you're right, we beat everybody, right? So like, we didn't have to beat Ohio State again because the team we just beat the crap out of Ohio State. We didn't have to beat Ole Miss because that team beat Ole Miss.
We didn't have to beat Notre Dame. Miami beat Notre Dame.
Yeah. And they're so mad. They're so mad. Actually, the one Notre Dame guy at work today, for first day back at work today, was very congratulatory and really cool. But I think it's kind of the inner program of Notre Dame is pretty upset. So whatever. I think we would have beat Notre Dame worse than what we beat Miami anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, let's get into it. We'll have plenty of time to talk about personal feelings and everything here. We'll stick to a fairly traditional recap format, and we're going to have so much time. And there's obviously, when you win the national title, you've got a lot to talk about. Hopefully we'll get some players on.
I want to talk about
stuff.
This has to do with the game. And I wouldn't consider myself superstitious, Michael. This is a little bit of your influence, I think, but I think you and I, and to some bit your wife, contributed to this win because we did everything that we normally do.
Yeah.
We traveled together. We tailgated together. We wore the same clothes. We drank the same drinks. We sat next to each other. Like, again, I'm not a superstitious person, but we did from game 1 to game 16, we did the same thing. So there's no reason to change up this outline format because we're champions. We did it perfectly. And I use we in a joking context, but we can't change the way we do a podcast right now.
No,
we can't.
Absolutely not. So, I mean, we're going to change it a little bit. We're not going to do headlines. We're going to do like a play of a game, but good luck picking one. But yeah, it's incredible. And, I do want to say one more thing before we keep talking about how we were at the game, is that I want to, it was a privilege to be there with both of us being long-ish time season ticket holders, over 10 years, each of us. But to get that opportunity, and then obviously the opportunity to sit next to each other, and then to share that with 40,000 other IU fans. I mean, incredible. But of the total alumni base, I mean, you got to, when it comes all the way down to, it's 5%. We were in with the top 5% basically across the country, and it was incredible and an awesome moment to share. So let's get into it. Talk a little bit about the game
on that real quick. Keep going, and I'll just do
go ahead. Go ahead.
So
I think it's 5%.
let's just say conservatively, there were 50,000 fans down there, 40,000 in the stadium, 10,000 people that tailgated or didn't go to the stadium.
Yeah, I didn't think about them either.
800,000 living alumni. Yes, we were in the. God, you were so close. I'll give it to you. 6% of the living alumni were there, and we got a chance to experience like that. And Seth joined just when you're doing Seth
this year.
Hold on, did I just show up to the national championship podcast?
You did. You did show up to the national championship podcast.
You
Welcome.
couldn't do that on a Purdue podcast, though. That's never happened.
I was gonna tell. I didn't know you were coming. He was ripping you before recording. I was gonna tell him to be easy on you.
I'm sorry that unlike you, I work a full day sometimes.
Oh, I don't even care. Thank you for working. I don't care about that. You just said, "Oh, did I show up to a national championship podcast?" And there's no way you could have ever done that on a Purdue podcast. It doesn't exist.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk. We're just now getting into like the very start of the outline, so it's good. And while I do that, why don't you mute and make sure you have your microphone on the right one? You do, yes or no? Or you're going to do that? Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, final score obviously: number 1 Indiana 27, number 10 Miami 21, and what people are calling one of the greatest college football games of all time. IU improves to an unprecedented in the modern college football era 16-0. We've got some facts on that a little bit later. Here's some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Coach Cignetti improves to 27-2 in his first 2 years, which include 2 college football appearances, 2 college football playoff appearances, a Big Ten title, the first win over Ohio State since 1988, the first win at Penn State ever, a Rose Bowl win, a Peach Bowl win, and a national championship. Now, sounds like a lot, right? That is a ton of things to do in 2 years, but I'm going to put it into context just to tell everybody about how amazing it is. Because there's only one other coach that was, I guess, close to doing the same thing. In the modern era, in their first 2 years of coaching, Nick Saban, 19-8. This is best 2 years of coaching a single program, not just their first 2 years coaching period. Jimbo Fisher, 19-8. Kirby Smart, 21-7. Urban Meyer got real close. He was really close. Very good coach, very good team. 24-2 at Ohio State. He's the only one that got anywhere close to what Cignetti did. Does he go 27-2 if the expanded playoff? Probably. Those teams were insane. And then just a quick point as far as record goes. Again, Sig and our team in the last 2 years has gone 27-2. In the years of 2018 to 2023, which is, I know it sounds like 5, but it's actually 6 total seasons. IU was 28-41 with 2 bowl appearances, which they lost in embarrassing fashion on both of them. So what a time to be alive, right? And what a coach. Seth.
And Urban Meyer, just for context, took over Ohio State, which was already a preeminent top 4 program in the nation. So there is no, so you can say that, oh, he's close. It's not close.
It didn't start at the same starting line.
Right.
Yeah. And you've heard it, right? Everybody, you're listening to the podcast. You've listened to all the commentary. You've listened to all the broadcasts. You don't know this. This is the most unprecedented, maybe in sports in general, you would think, but I don't want to go that far yet, but the most unprecedented thing in college football history. And as you said, it just reminded me, and I should have made that note, was that Urban Meyer went undefeated, I believe, his first season with Ohio State, but they were still on probation at that time from Jim Tressel and Tattoo Gate. I believe that's what was going on over there. So, and again, 6 seasons, 28-41, and then you've got 2 seasons of 27-2. So we have gone from, you hear rags to riches, but I would say almost from like shit to spoiled. I don't know. Like, this is unbelievable what's happening.
I heard this on the Pat McAfee show. There has been 31 graduating classes in Indiana football history. The graduating class is every 4 years, right? How many, Seth? How many graduating classes have won 16 total games or more?
4. So that's 4 per season
Yes.
at IU.
Yes.
I'd say less than 40%.
So it's not quite that bad. But 13 out of 31 graduating classes didn't win 16 games total. SIG did that in a year. That is the stat that really blew me away. An entire graduating class did not win as many games as Indiana did this season. That's how good the fans had it this year. Another thing that blew my mind, and I don't know who said this because I saw it on Twitter, but if you are a sophomore at Indiana, you have seen your team go 27-2. Can you believe, like, I said this a million times in Miami when we were waiting 9 hours to get to Shuttle
Hold on.
A.
Does the basketball program have that many wins in the same time period?
Oh,
Absolutely
that
not.
is a really good question.
They do. They definitely, I don't know. You can look it up, Seth.
They do.
But I kept saying this line, who has it better than us? I'd go up to a random fan, who has it better than us? The answer is, if you're a sophomore at Indiana University, Bloomington, that's about the only person that has it better than us, is that 21-year-old in Bloomington that has only seen and knows this team. But truly, nobody has it better than Indiana fans right now.
Yeah, and it's as we've been saying, for at least recently, I'd say whatever the last 6 weeks, I haven't had to change one section of the stats of the game, right? And that section is a game of firsts or a season of first. Obviously, first ever football national championship for IU. First team to go 16-0 since 1894. So, like, let's stop with that. They're the first team ever to go 16-0 in modern college football, as we know it. The first team to win their first national title since Florida. This blew my mind. 1996. I always thought Florida, their whole forever, was always a powerhouse. So that was the one thing that blew my mind. The other thing was no other team had won their first title since 1996. That is crazy. But then when you go back and you look,
there was no first team.
Damn,
30 years, there was no first team.
Yeah,
all repeats, all
and
blue bloods.
It is, yeah, blue bloods. Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go.
The team that I think waited the longest, I think, is Clemson. I think Clemson went something like 35, 40 years between national championships.
Was it like 81 to 14 or something like that?
They were kind of a dumpster fire, I think, there in between. I think they were really, really bad. And then Sweeney came in and fixed some of that stuff. So that is crazy.
But yeah, I mean, that just shows you the lack of parity in this sport. And it starts with my brother, who absolutely hates the transfer portal. He hates NIL. He says it's made the sport worse. That stat right there is the strongest argument, and I honestly think the only argument for why the sport's in the best place it's been in, I don't know, half a century, because now any team can win. Now, not every team has the perfect formula, which I think the formula is generational coach. Significant money to improve a program, and the administration that's bought in. I think you need those three. That is because everyone's, you see it all over. Like, well, anyone can do it now. Anyone can do it now. I think you need those three things. You need a generational coach. You need the money behind the program, and you need an administration that's bought in. And I think Pat McAfee did it the best. He's brought up Pam Whittington, Scott Dolson, and Signetti up many times. I think that's also a significant piece. Indiana has been an absolute dumpster fire as far as administration goes. So, no, not everyone can do it, But I do think there is a formula now that exists behind just brand. Because before NIL, before transfer portal, it was, are you the Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, or Clemson? No, you're not. Well, you don't really have a chance.
A couple things to clean up really quickly. Clemson won in 81 and then 2016. So that was the 35 years. I did terrible math when I said 2014. So an IU sophomore has seen 27 IU football wins and 31 IU basketball wins.
Just barely.
And the third thing is, I had somebody ask me the other day, how can a coach make a difference in college football these days? And I said, well, you have to be elite and like beyond elite at a couple different things. And I'd said, it was recruiting or strategy or kind of being like the CEO that is just a magnet to people. And what Coach Sig has shown is there's a fourth option as well. And that is just absolutely unwavering slave-like commitment to a process. And that is something that I don't think anybody has ever executed in a way to such a degree that Cignetti, and with the help of Mendoza, I think has really laid out there.
Yeah.
In my mind, it just comes down to leadership, man. I mean, he's the ultimate leader, right? Not all CEOs are leaders. Not all X and O tacticians are leaders. Not all player coaches are leaders, right? That, amongst anything, I think is Cignetti's greatest strength, is just being a leader. And I think that extends from on the field, in the locker room, and in the rooms of these parents' houses. I mean, you see the way the players and the players' parents talk about Cignetti. And I've watched a number of those BTN journeys, and they just rave about Cignetti. And that has nothing to do with comments he makes in press conferences. That has nothing to do with sideline antics, which I think all that stuff gets far overblown. It's just him, and I think probably the most difficult to replicate.
Yeah, I mean, dude, speaking of being him and not able to replicate things, I mean, how about the quarterback? I mean, 16 to 27, these stats aren't going to kill anybody. 16 to 27, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, a 90.6 QBR, 7 carries for negative yardage because the guy was getting hit every which way. But that touchdown, I'm not going to talk about the play right now because I think during this next section, or the section coming up a little bit later, it's probably going to come up. But this kid, what can you say that hasn't already been said? He's unbelievable. Now, if it turns out this is just some sort of like cloak, right? And he's just kind of a butthole of a kid, then it's different. But I mean, look at his parents, look at the rest of his family. Look at everything else what Fernando Mendoza has done for IU in one season is unbelievable.
So I think again, I've just consumed so much content. So sorry that I'm I feel like I'm writing a college essay where I'm just citing a lot of my sources, but I've just, hopefully, like everyone listening, have just consumed so much content. I think Dan Orlovsky put it the best. That it goes, Fernando Mendoza's stats aren't going to blow you away, but it's how he plays the game is in a very NFL type situation. He's not in an air raid throwing 50 times, putting up 500 yards. He's not in a run first where he's only passing the ball 10 times. When he throws the ball, he makes a play. When he needs to run the ball, he makes a play. On third, look at his third down numbers. Look at his red zone numbers. When his number is called, he makes a play. Mendoza is the opposite of a box score player. He is an on-tape player. And Dan says when he watches this tape, he sees one of the most impressive tapes he's seen in a long time. I don't love his comparison, but I'll just give him the nod. He said he hasn't seen a guy be situationally successful like this since Trevor Lawrence. He says that's the last tape that he was in. The last time he was this impressed with tape was Trevor Lawrence. He said that on First Draft with Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Or no, Field Yates. Dan Orlovsky was on with Field Yates and Mel Kiper when he said that. And while I don't love the comparison, I think everything else is right. I mean, in the game that we're here talking about, if it was third down, he made a play. It's fourth down, he made a play.
Just unbelievable.
If it was in the red zone, you're talking about the play. He made a play. Right? I'm convinced if Cignetti does not kick that field goal, when Indiana is up 3 and he decides to roll it back and go for it, we'll never know. But when has Mendoza not made that play? And that's what I think I got most out of that Dan Orlovsky piece.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times across the season, Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, like over and over and over again. And it's like you wait for him to not do it.
Yep.
And it never happened. And he made other plays. I mean, I think it was Mesidor. I'd say 99% of the other quarterbacks in college football, if Mesidor hits him like that and tries to strip that football's out. And the way that he hangs onto that ball was, nobody talks about it. We're not talking about it at all, really, outside of this part right here. Is massive in the overall scheme of that game. So just an unbelievable player. Seth, you have anything to say on him? We don't need to give him like whatever you would call it, a eulogy right now. I mean, he's not dying or anything, and we'll talk about him multiple times before he gets drafted number 1 overall, which I called back in June. But yeah, an unbelievable, hopefully not a once in a generation player. I think we've seen what the staff can do with quarterbacks.
So, and I think we haven't talked about this, but I think we should literally have a pod kind of talking about players and coaches. But I saw a poll, and I don't remember, but just bookmark this. Bookmark this right here. Where does he go down? Where does he go down as IU athletes of all time? We're talking about Mark Spitz. We're talking about Isaiah Thomas. We're talking about Calbert Chaney. We're talking about Randall L. We're talking about Anthony Thompson. We're talking about everybody in all sports. So, again, it's not for this podcast, but I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, that is a phenomenal topic. And I can't wait till we finally get to it because I have my feelings. Seth expressed his feelings. I think it's great, and I look forward to talking about it. But can we get back to one other game stat before we move on? We kind of move away from Mendoza.
Yeah.
So all year, there was this stat that I've referenced a few times called win expectancy. And while a game seemed close, Indiana still had 98 win expectancy, 93 win expectancy, 99 win expectancy. Did you guys see what Indiana's win expectancy was in this game?
No.
14%. And I think this ties in to the Mendoza, right? You know how many we got the fourth downs every time. Look at our third down percentage we got every time. Look how we didn't turn the ball over. Look how we turned the ball over. Got turnovers from them. Missed field goals. There is about a half a dozen, if not maybe more, plays that if they don't happen exactly like they happened, then Indiana doesn't win.
It's special teams. Special teams was entirely the difference.
I called it in the preview pod.
I was going to say, when we do the rankings of efficiencies, that was the difference between Oregon, Ohio State, Miami. Was IU had a significant special teams advantage in all 3 of those games. This was the first time it really came into play.
And that, and I explained it in an earlier podcast, but this is for win expectancy isn't like Indiana wins that game 14%. That is a team. A team only wins 14% of the time. And I think that shows how elite Indiana was, because I wasn't really nervous until that last drive. But only 14% of the time does a team win that game because so many things IU did right. IU created their own luck, right? People on this podcast have heard me call puck luck before. There's nothing luck about puck luck. You create your own puck luck. And I think Indiana created their own success through that. So despite that game only having a 14% win expectancy, Indiana seemed in control for 59 out of the 60 minutes of the game.
Yeah. And just to clean up one thing on Seth is that Ohio State came down to special teams too. A team that we pointed out in the preview pod as having a bad special team efficiency misses a literal chip shot field goal and IU wins the game. So, yeah, we'll move on. Here's a big part of what happened. And I know a lot of people probably got frustrated, maybe a lot of the IU football casual fans that haven't really paid attention to the team all year, maybe not like fully invested into the team until as the season went on. But the possession numbers are massive. Miami had the ball for only 23 and a half minutes, which leaves IU the ball for 36 and a half minutes. And that is a big difference in a college football championship. Now, if you go look at the stats, sure, Miami had a few more total yards, had a few more rushing yards, had a few more passing yards. When you don't have the ball, it's hard to score points. And so when we'll talk about the rushing numbers here in a minute, because you're going to be like, it wasn't very good, but they were clutch runs at clutch times. I couldn't even tell you, Brandon, how many times I say 2-3 times where I'm like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8. They go to hand the ball off. And I'm like, no, just kidding. Great play. Like it just the pressurized and the perfect timing of the play calling and the perfect timing of everything worked out perfectly. So look at the rushing. Let's look at the rushing yards real quick. IU finished 45 rushing attempts for 131 yards at a terrible 2.9 average against a really good rushing defense. Miami only ran the ball 21 times. Their strength. That's what they wanted to do. We got to run the ball 21 times. They ran it for 110 yards, which is a good average, a 5.2 average. Now, let's play the fun game that we've played at the beginning of the season. If you remove the one big run, the 57-yard run from Fletcher for a touchdown, that puts them at 20 attempts for 53 yards and a 2.7 average. We talked about it in the preview. Strength against strength. Their rush, our rush defense. That's what it came down to. They had one big play and couldn't make the other things happen until it was too late.
I didn't want to be negative. This is the only negative I'm going to be. That 57-yard was created because Aiden picked the wrong gap to go in, and Amari Farrell took possibly the worst angle I've seen him take all year. Amari Farrell has not taken that bad of an angle in 15 games. And I think Aiden just thought, hey, if I shoot this gap, I'm going to get him in the backfield. And I think Fletcher's speed probably surprised him a little bit. He thought, I've been able to take this gap for the entire season, and he chose wrong, right? He run filled the incorrect gap, which players are perfect. This is me not ripping or stock down either one of these players, but that run came right to us. So Michael and I had a perfect vision on that. And I just saw Aiden. I'm blanking on what gap he shot, but it was like he's behind. He shot
B gap, I think, and needed
and
to
then
shoot.
Amari just ran straight horizontal. Like if he runs diagonal, it's Fletcher, Amari in the sideline, and it's normally one of those shove out of bounds, right? I mean, it's probably going to be a 30+ yard gain, but it's not a 57-yard touchdown. And Amari just, for some reason, just went straight horizontal, which was a choice. But again, those plays happen in a college game. Those plays happen. And I think, Michael, you bring up a great point. If you remove that, they were as ineffective as we are because of strength on strength. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And we'll run through one more stat here real quick, unless you guys found something else I didn't find. Because honestly, the score comes down to it. If you watch the game, you saw it. Outside of that first, let's call it 22 minutes, let's call it 25 minutes of the first half, or I guess, yeah. Outside of that first 25, almost 30 minutes of the first half, it was, and they said it on TV, pure dominance by IU on both sides of the football. Now the end of the first half scores 10-0, so it's not going to be what we're used to whenever somebody says IU dominance, but it was pure dominance. And going into the halftime at 10-0 comes down again to poor special teams. Now, it was a 50-yard field goal for a college kicker is never going to be an automatic thing. That field goal was massive in the scheme of things. Because if not, Beck doesn't throw that ball like an idiot, which we'll talk about that play. That play was, when you get down to the X's and O's of that play, was one of the smartest things I've heard come out of a football player's mouth in a very long time. But they were 0 for 1. We were 2 for 2. We won the game by 6 points. You know, they wanted to return kicks. They wanted to return punts. And here's something that I kept off of your guys' outline for a reason, because I heard this today. I had not heard this until today on Webitard Show. I love listening to it. It's amazing now because it's just all tears. We had a blocked punt for a touchdown. That's another special teams mess up on something that we were not even trying to block. That was set up by a terrible decision to field the ball inside your own 10-yard line with 3 IU players running right at you. Now, here's a fun fact that I don't know how many people knew or not. They had a play set up for Tony to catch that football and throw it to the other side of the field. They had a player wide open, not an IU player within 30 yards. Now, had our coverage, again, special teams, had our coverage not been great, had the kick not hung up enough, they make that play and we might not be sitting here talking the way that we're talking about this game. But again, this comes down to figuring out when it's okay to risk it and pull out a gadget play when you see the ball going inside your 5-yard line, or just playing it normal. Like, there's no chance. There's not a shot Signetti or anybody allows that sort of play to happen. Now, if it comes off, what's his name? Cristobal's a genius, right? Everybody looks at him as like that guy out-coached Signetti because of one play. But he had no shot. And now, honestly, I think if he tries to throw it, we end up picking it off anyway, because that's just how we do. But excuse that, whatever's going on back there. But yeah, I mean,
Cristobal was also whining on the sidelines. He did not handle himself well. Constantly ripping his headphones off, constantly throwing up his hands. He looked like a little whining baby, if we're being honest.
Let's be. We'll move on with this. Let's be a little bit self-aware. Is that Signetti apparently during the entire first half was in the ass of all the referees. What rightfully so.
I mean,
our quarterback took an absolute headshot to the chin for no reason. So I get that part of it, but I don't know what Cristobal was complaining about. There was nothing wrong.
And again, I sent this in the group chat. We had Big 12 refs that threw the least amount of penalties. And
Yes.
I've thought about that for a while, and I think I'd rather have that than a million penalties being called.
An SEC ref. Yeah, an SEC. There's like, they could have called so many penalties. So many. Not as many like ticky-tack holding calls, but there were definitely some PIs that they probably left out there that you would see on a traditional crew. Definitely that hit to Mendoza, which is technically, if he would have just hit him, a legal hit. But the way he hit him is Seth is doing it. That dude should be tossed. That dude is gone. Full on targeting to the T. So, all right. So this is where the part where we skip the normal outline and we do a play of the game. Now, there are some obvious ones. I want you to pick the obvious one if you want to talk about the obvious ones. There's some under the cover ones too. I got an under the cover one, but we'll start with you, Brandon.
So I'm going to take one of the obvious ones just because I heard Mikel Kamara's interview on Wake Up Barstool, and it just shows the cohesion, chemistry, and confidence that this team has. So on the Mikel Kamara block and the Bones Jones scoop and score, the play call was punt safe.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, the previous punt, Kamara goes to the special teams coach.
Seth is
Goes,
so mad right now.
did you hear this interview?
No, I watched it. I saw all of this play out, and I was telling the people at my house, I'm like, they're going to block the next one. And when it happened, they were like, oh my God, how'd you figure that out? And I was like, you could see it. He didn't even try to block it, and he almost blocked it. So now they're going to try to block it.
Goes, they're releasing early.
Mm-hmm.
They're not holding their blocks. They're not looking to block. The special teams coach says, I'm calling a punt safe. We're playing field position. I'm calling a punt safe. But if you think you can get it, go get it. But if you don't get it, you better know what you're getting into. Right? That's what the special teams coach told Mikel Kamara. So he's giving him the autonomy to do it, but if you do it, you better get there.
That's incredible.
So obviously he goes and does it. Here's equally incredible. Bones Jones did not talk to Kamara. Bones Jones did not talk to the coach. Bones Jones just read it right and knew when he saw Kamara go in, he's like, okay, I got to go in too. He's not going in this alone. That is how well of a practiced unit and how they are in each other's heads so well that Bones Jones knew it was punt safe, but read what Kamara was. We're talking about milliseconds of decision making here for Kamara, and now I think Kamara ends up scooping up the ball up anyway, right?
Oh yeah, he was right there. Yeah,
but like they're both seeing the play live so well, and for me, it was just so well coached, so well executed, and just the chemistry. It was one of the greatest plays I think I've ever seen in any football game ever. And it was, in my mind, probably the third most important play of the game.
No, you're wrong. It was the most important play of the game. No, it was. And I'm going to stick with it because
over the windows around in the sharp
because I'm so mad at you. Yes, because I saw all of this in real time. It was the punt that they had in the second quarter. And you just go, holy shit. Kamara is like barely even getting off the line of scrimmage and he almost blocked it. And you could just see, you're like, and I told the guy, a 70-year-old guy I was sitting next to, I go, if they want to, they're going to block one of those. He goes, they're not going to do it. And I go, I know they probably won't, because when you actually commit to blocking a kick, you have to commit. You have to actually extend your body. And there is about a 60% chance there's a 100% chance if you don't touch the ball, you're gonna get a roughing the kicker. And now all the field position game you've played is completely screwed at that point. And then additionally, the timing of it was just so chef's kiss, because you had this dominant first half, 10-0, big dick swing, all that stuff is going on. And then you come out and you lay an egg on the first drive, 6 plays, 6 yards, punt. And then 2 plays, was it 62 yards, touchdown for Miami.
57-yard touchdown.
So it's like, oh my God, they're a quick strike offense. We thought we were going to come out. And I know Bragg always says, if you get the ball first, you're adding 3 or 7 points onto that score, because you have to assume that they're going to score coming out of the gate. IU didn't do it. Miami did. Now all of a sudden it's 10-7. Game pressure now is real. And the ball is going now in that third quarter. After that touchdown, 4 plays punt for IU, 3 plays punt for Miami, 3 play punt for IU. And then so we were kind of at a stalemate at that point. And Miami kind of was the last team to have that big momentum play. So Uncle Mo, he's kind of in no man's land right now. And I kept telling myself, I told you guys this, I go, IU's going to need to score 27 points to win. And that ended up being prophetic, but they needed to have some kind of extra score somewhere. And that's where it ended up coming at a point where they desperately needed it, because not only that, IU's drives before that had scored 12 plays, 6 minutes, 14 plays, almost 7 minutes. They need to put together these long, exhausting drives to score points. Miami had the potential to have really quick strikes. So the fact that IU was able to score points without even the ball in their possession was fundamentally massive to reestablishing the control of the game and creating that separation, so that when Miami had eventually answered back, still in that on that first drive of the fourth quarter, there was still a gap there that IU could work with, then have their own response touchdown. So it really just, it was a microcosm of the coaching, the smarts of the players individually, the grasping of momentum, and then really seizing on the biggest differentiator between these two teams. When you look at that box score, or not the box score, sorry, on the efficiency rankings, and it was taking advantage of the special teams. So it ended up being that perfect combination of all of those little baby microcosms that build up into what Cignetti has built. It's smart play. It's trusting your players. It's doing things the right way. And then it's also knowing when to take calculated risks and knowing when to seize momentum and really put the hammer down. And obviously, because they scored 14 points after that, and I know, there's so many things that could have still happened, but at that point in the third quarter, to have an unexpected score was just absolutely a difference maker and giving them the breathing room they needed to play the defense and play the offense they wanted to play.
Yeah, that is fascinating. That whole thing. I mean, Brandon's talking about the interview with Kamara, and then you kind of saying the same thing. I'm pretty sure I said something to either Brandon or my wife, like during one of those punts, like they're getting close or whatever. I said, they're going to block this one. And then
what you said is 87 still concussed, because it was 87.
That's right. It was
who was just not blocking. Like, he was part of the 3-man block. He was the one that's supposed to chip Kamara. And in that second quarter, right after Pons lit him up, you were like, 87's not even blocking. Or is he? Yeah. You said something about that guy on Kamara's side being not interested in blocking at all. And then it turned out that he wasn't, and led to 7 points the other way. All right, what's your play? Because I have another one that I want to talk about.
So my play is actually not a play at all. So Miami's driving, final drive of the game. Seth, don't do this. It's actually something that leads to a play. So it is the final drive of the game. 51 seconds. Miami's moving the ball. Everybody's freaking out. All right. Sig takes a timeout. 1st and 10, Miami. What's the very next play? Jamari Sharp interception. The cool thing about this play, and they don't explain it to you well on defense, or on TV, they kind of do, but Sharp puts it into words, and it was beautiful. Brian Haynes has told his players on cover 2, if you're on the single side receiver, you follow the receiver. And he knew he had, you're going to have safety help over the top. Every cover 2 is going to have that. That's the whole point of cover 2 is 2 deep safeties. He knew he had it. That's why it looked like he knew that ball was coming for him, because he didn't even have to watch the receiver. He saw the receiver was there. You watch his eyes during the play. He sees the receiver where he's going. He looks back at Beck. He kind of glances over, sees Moore's got over the top, and he never looks back again. He stares at Beck the entire time, and Beck literally throws it right to him.
Yep. So
your receiver didn't even turn around.
Darius Butler broke this down in depth on Tuesday. It was all over social media, so I don't care what social media you have. Just look up Darius Butler on whatever, and he breaks down this play, and everything you said is exactly what he said. He did say what made it look easier than it was how Jamari flipped his hips. He goes, a lot of people do it the other way, and there actually is a window that Beck dropped it in. Now, that wasn't happening because it wasn't an overly good throw, but what Darius Butler says is Jamari was so technically sound. That's why it was so easy looking. It's actually a way more difficult play because of how you backpedal and how you turn. He said he goes, every DB's coach should frame that and show that over and over again, because again, to the average fan, shoot, to me who played defensive back, I didn't even catch that. But he just goes, that play is not easy. It was made to look easy because of how well it was played.
Yeah.
All right. We have to talk about the touchdown for Mendoza though too, because
That was the other one I wanted to
because
talk about.
I saved it. I saved this comment because again, you've watched so much more than I have, but what I was reminded of was the Elway touchdown in his Super Bowl where he jumps and helicopters. That's what I saw. That's what I was like, holy hell. That's what this is reminding me of. And they talk about how it was just a simple, quarterback draw. They blocked it a little bit differently. You could see they kind of crossed the guard in the center a little bit. And it was really effective how they picked it up. And then it was just his heart, determination, kind of a whirling dervish, so to speak, of just glancing blows and spinning him and just finding the exact angle to get across the goal line.
Pure determination.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just the perfect embodiment of who Fernando Mendoza is. And it was just a perfect encapsulation for the moment of the Heisman Trophy winner, the national champion winner, to have this moment where he gets to have showing off kind of his baby giraffe, awkward running style of getting into the end zone and having his singular moment, his one shining moment, or whatever you want to call that.
So again, the amount of content and stuff I've consumed is crazy. I was wrong. In the stadium, I said he called his own shot. He went over to Signetti.
I wanted that so bad.
That isn't what happened. And how I interpreted his interview is a little bit different than how other people interpret his interview. So what he said was, if it was man coverage, the wide receivers were running this route. And if it was zone coverage, the wide receivers were running this route. He could not figure out if it was man or zone. What he said in the interview was half. What I was reading was half was man, half was zone. And that I didn't know where to throw it. So I just ran. Did you guys interpret that way? Or do you think it was an RPO? Like, if it was this coverage, I'm running it. Because that's not how I interpret it.
Sig said it was a QB draw from the get.
That's what I thought Sig said.
Yeah.
Something.
That's not what Mendoza. Go back and Mendoza was asked about that play, and he said how I diagnosed it pre-snap was half was zone, half was man, and I didn't know where to throw it.
Well, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It all adds to the lore of it now. Who gives a shit? What happened happened. The rest is just footnotes in history.
I seem to believe Mendoza over Sig. That could be Sig just hyping up.
Oh, of course.
And here's the cool part about this too, that I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm sure Brandon has, but against Cal, when he played for Cal, they played Miami at home. The Saint lit him up, like absolutely smashed him. I don't know if he knocked him out of the game or not, but he was definitely down injured for a little bit at the play. Go look and see who he runs over on that run. And now he gets a little bit of help from K'Wan Black from the side, but he runs over Basaint before spinning and diving into the end zone. And yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. And then obviously you can go to the Charlie B catches, you can do a bunch of other things, but those, we'll have, as I said, we will have so much time to talk about these games. All right, let's take a break for a second. Then we'll do our marketplace, and then we'll revisit predictions and talk about how close that was. And then we'll go from there. All right, we're back. All right, so let's do IU players stock up. Obviously, there's zero stock down. I mean, just you can't complain about anything, nothing. We lose that game, I can complain about how hard it was to get back to the hotel. We could talk about how the refs were bad. We can talk about a whole bunch of things. There's nothing to complain about. Who's your stock up on offense?
So for me, at least offensively, the game flipped when we made a change at right tackle.
Okay.
And I think Seth still believes his best position is guard. I think he comes out as our starting right tackle in 2026. But I think it was the first drive of the game, edge pressure from the right side, forced Mendoza to scramble and throw away. Mendoza took a sack. Mendoza was thrown off time. I think if the game would have went on how it was going on before we made a change at right tackle, I think this is a different result. I think he is a major factor of why we won this game. And that is not a stock down to Khalil Benson, because Miami's edge pressure did that to everybody. Absolutely everybody. Through every game of the college football playoff, through the entire season, their edge pressure, there was, you can probably count it on one hand, probably less, how many tackles were able to stop Miami's edge pressure. Carter Smith and Ajani did it. Carter Smith had the super untimely false start that took it from 2nd and 1 to 2nd and 6, which turned out to be costly because it only turned into 3 points. It would have been 2nd and 1 in the red zone. But I think Carter Smith and Ajani played about as good as you could play given who they were playing. So my stock ups are to, I think we returned both tackles in 2026, and we have the best tackles in the Big Ten, possibly the best tackles in all of the country heading to 2026. That is my stock. Buy that stock now, because it won't be this low for long.
Just remember, before the Ohio State game, Carter Smith hadn't had a flag all season, and until Ruben Bain beat him, he hadn't given up a sack all season. So again, if those are your two, and then he had the false start, so he had two flags all season, 1 sack all season.
So yeah, Ajani, just the tackles in general, because we heard the entire time Messidor this, and Messidor wrecked the game for.
He was great
for a half. And all we heard is how the edge rushers for Miami were going to determine this game, and they did for about a half until our tackles. So that is my biggest stock risers are the Indiana offensive tackles.
Yeah, so I think you're spot on there. And I was gonna move one position out, and I was gonna go with Noah, because I think Riley Nowakowski, I know he only had 2 catches for 17 yards. He had 1 rush for 1 yard and a TD, and it's like, oh, those aren't great stats. 3 touches, 20 yards. But what he was able to do as a tight end, they used him so well as a lead blocker, as a formations assister, kind of to create balance misalignments. And the way they used him was just so smart. It was really great. But my answer here is Kalon Black. He had 17 carries, 79 yards, no TDs, along a 20. Those numbers aren't going to pop out at you. They're not huge. It's not even his best game. The 4.6 yards per average. Yeah, not great either. But what he did was he always fell forward. He'd get hit after 1 yard, and all of a sudden it was 2nd and 6 though. He'd get hit in the backfield, gain a 2. Every single time you just saw a pad level and a forward lean that no matter how big the guys were tackling him, no matter how hard they were hitting him, he was delivering a blow back and then leaning forward. And I just think that without his ability to get those extra 2 yards on every single gain that they had, maybe IU abandons the run game a little earlier. Maybe that they have to force more into the passing game, and that plays into Bain and Messidor's hands more. There's a lot of what ifs in there, but being able to dedicate, and Roman ran 19 times. So between the two of them, 36 rushing attempts. Between those two guys, but Black was the more effective, more efficient guy. Just put them in positions where they didn't have to abandon the running game. They could stick with it and continue to play IU football. And what that eventually translated into was that 13-minute time of possession difference that we highlighted earlier in the statistical breakdown. Is you do not hold on to the ball for 36 minutes if you are not effective in the ground game. And between Ajani at right tackle, Carter Smith at left tackle, helping to limit any of those edge rushers who also are really good in the run game too. That's the other thing they didn't talk a lot about. Did a really good job of balancing that, and then Black just exploiting any sliver of opportunity to get yardage. Just was so good to see.
In my, just to build off the run game, I had Kalon Black and Riley Noah. I said in my notes, I have Riley got drafted because of this game.
100%.
He's going to see his name called. Now I still think he's firmly a day 3 guy, but I think because of this game tape, he got himself drafted. But on the run game, I don't think we're able to make some of those back shoulder throws if we don't hammer the run. I don't think they have. Nando will not have the time to 3-step drop and then wait for Charlie to break off the back shoulder if we're not running the ball that many times. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that. If those edge rushers are just anticipating pass, if they don't have to wait a half second for the run, and I think Bragg made a great point earlier, there were many 3rd and 5 runs, 3rd and 6 runs that set up those 4th and 5 throws, those 3rd and 7 throws. If the defense doesn't think they don't have to defend the run, then those top 10 edge rushers are going to pin their ears back. So I think Shanahan called a great game. I had a lot of texts that said, man, it seemed conservative. Man, it seemed like they always made the play call. But the play calls set up other things. It was a beautifully manufactured play sheet.
Yeah, my wife, my wife knows ball, and she's been at
My wife.
I did say that a couple of times, I think, during the game. She was even being like, why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep doing this? Like, man, you guys left everybody on the board for me that I had. So I can go Charlie B. We know that one, but I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna tote myself up a little bit. I told you guys one guy was gonna have a good game, and he had a big game, and it started from the very first play of the game, and that was Omar Cooper. Now, he didn't score a touchdown, which killed my single Omar Cooper big game parlay, but 5 catches, 71 yards, led the team in both categories, was effective when he had the ball in his hands, made people miss. Really, really good player, and he's more than welcome to come back if he wants to. Probably not, but more than welcome to come back. As we said, Kaylon, really good. Charlie B, really good. We know those plays. All right. One other person I want to give a shout out on offense is Coogan. I thought Coogan played a really good game too, and just really happy to see him get over the hump there and get that title with the correct team. So,
can I give a cheeky honorable mention?
Yeah.
The fans led to a delay of game, led to, I think, some definite missed routes and some communication and some offensive line miscommunication. So shout out to the Indiana fans.
How amazing is that we can make them false start in their own stadium?
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty. Now, granted, it's not technically a home game for them, but I mean that's pretty impressive. All right, on defense, what are we doing?
So I went very, very heavy analytical here. For me, Pons, I think his draft stock was second rounder, third rounder. Oh no, Pons made sure to know everyone. I can guard anyone. I can hit. I can cover. I'm first round talent. Pons raised his stock the highest it could go. Pons made himself a first round draft pick in this game.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think when you talked about Noah playing his way into a draft position, I think Lou Moore did the exact same thing. I think he was one of those guys who might be a UDFA, might be a 7th rounder, has a lot of ball, has a lot of tape, and does a lot of things really well. But what he did in the championship game, pass deflections, he was all over the place, man. And I really think that he played his way. If he was an undrafted, maybe he's a 7th rounder now. If he was a 7th, maybe he's a 6th now. But I think we did a breakdown of this earlier today, and I think we're looking at, depending on who declares for the draft, who wants to stay, I think we can easily see, what we say, 7 or 8 Hoosiers drafted next year. And I think there are probably 2 guys who were fringe before and now are pretty squarely on a lot of teams' boards.
Yep. Who you got, Bragg? Oh, Bragg's gone. I'm going to go ahead and take my honorable mention.
No, you're not. I'm back.
Oh, here we go. Fight.
By the way, Lou Moore is it's like second team All-American. He's not getting drafted in the 7th round. He's getting drafted way.
He wasn't on many boards, man. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing.
Telling you can't get much more consistent than what he's been all season. I'll go. Obviously, the MVP would be an easy one. I would have gone Landino at some point, but he kind of effed up there on that last drive. So I'll go with one of the players that I've been a big fan of for a very long time, and he's been here for 3 years, and he'll be here for another year, and he'll be DB1 next season. And that's Jamari Sharp. sharp. I mean, obviously the game-winning interception, but he also had a really good game everywhere else that he was on the field. Made some good timely tackles, a couple PDs. Really good player. He's just a really, really solid player. Took him a couple years to kind of get into his groove, but he is a definitive DB1 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a guy they picked on a little bit earlier in the season because with Pons being so elevated as a talent, I think they were worried that we can't throw to that side. So iron sharpens iron, pun intended on that. But one of those things where him being picked on all year ended up meaning that when his time was called to be picked on in the national championship game, there was no picking on him. He was prepared, he was ready, and he played a damn good game.
And give me that celebration in the end zone. Take your helmet off, baby. Celebrate everything you want to do. I do not care. At that point, that game is over. I don't want to hear anybody say he should have done that. He should act like you da. No, get out of here. They didn't want to recruit you. You go celebrate in all their fans' faces. And then I love Pons giving the upside down you at the same time. It was amazing behind him. So, all right, we are deep on this recap pod.
Can I go one more player?
Yeah, go ahead. I forgot you wanted to do one.
Just honorable mention, Bones Jones. I thought run gap filled, awesome. I thought his pass, man, he had two where it was tip drill, and I told Bragg, how are these just finding the ground? Because they found Indiana's hands a lot during the season, but Bones Jones had two pass deflections, and then obviously the scoop for a touchdown. I think you can firmly lock him in as an all Big Ten player in 2026.
Ro Hardy had a really nice deflection too on an extended reach deflection. Oh, the linebackers and coverage improved so much.
We are maybe you kind of undersold a little bit one of Jones's PDs because it was about as athletic as I think he could possibly get, and with him covering on I think it was an inside hitch from the outside receiver, and he had gone out into like the bottom zone, saw it coming, turns and dives to almost intercept the ball. I mean, you give him another try at it, maybe he makes it, but it's a great play. If you guys can go back and find that one, that's a really, really good play. And good shout there too. Hardy had a good game. Fisher had a good game. I mean, I don't care. The whole team. Utzinger, let's give our boy Jeff Utz. He had a bunch of special teams tackles as well. Just
Baldwin had a special team tackle. What's the guy? Quentin Clark had a special team tackle.
Dude, I'll tell you what,
Baldwin
he's fast. He's really, really fast and could be
really
a big
excited
problem
to see him
for teams.
grow.
Yeah.
He's a starter next year.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Seth is super excited about this too because he just squeaked one out. Seth wins the predictions for the national championship.
I'm the national champion.
And it was probably, if I go back, I bet you this is easily the closest it's ever been. So I predicted Miami 13, IU 27. Ding, ding, ding. I got one of the two right. So that's a good win. Brandon said Miami 20, IU 31. He was off by 5 points. I was off by 8. Seth said Miami 17, Indiana 27. He was off by a total of 4 points. Therefore, he backs his way into the victory. Congratulations, Seth.
Back it up.
Your only victory of the long weekend.
Yeah, thanks. Bears lost, Purdue lost. Thanks.
Yeah, but IU basketball lost, so that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong podcast.
That's okay. Didn't even know they were playing. All right, I'm dead serious. All right, so that's it. Is that you guys good with that?
Yeah.
All right. A very long reaction pod. Hopefully I can do some editing. I don't know what happened to my internet there for just a minute, but we got it fixed. Yeah, that's it.
Statements?
No, I mean, if you want to give one, do you want to give one?
No, just holy hell. Like, how was this even possible? We started this podcast 4 years ago when Penix did the reach against, Penn State? And we're like, this is the high point of Indiana football. This is going to be amazing. We're probably going to suck for the rest of our life, but at least we had this 1 year. And then we had 2 shit years. And we're like, oh, God. Then we had to change our podcast name because that coach got fired because nobody wants to love each other anymore. And now, what was a joke? Like, I started joining this podcast as like, you guys need somebody just to help you out and figure this thing out. Now They're the national championship podcast. You guys run a podcast for the national championship football team.
We will have a new
freaking insane.
We will have a new logo, by the way. Just
Yeah,
so
my
you
final
guys have already
statement
seen it. You guys have already seen it.
So I've kind of already alluded to my final statement, but it needs expounded upon. Hoosier fans are awesome. Like Sunday, when I maybe overserved myself a little too much, we took over Fort Lauderdale Beach. We went to 5 different bars, restaurants on Sunday, and the fans were just unbelievable. Chants everywhere, gear everywhere, people loud, people happy. It was just it made me so proud to be a part of something, right? And it was where some fan bases can come off as elitist, and I'll call them out: Notre Dame, Miami,
IU basketball.
Yes, sure. It wasn't like that. It was a community. It was cohesion, and people were having fun. Again, we got to the stadium because Bragg was a absolutely nervous wreck and could barely talk. We got into the stadium at 2:30. Right? The gates didn't open till 4:30. We were in the stadium for 10 hours. And it didn't feel like that.
No.
Imagine any place you've been for 10 hours and that was the worst time of my life. We were in Hard Rock Stadium for 10 hours and it felt like 2 minutes. You could talk to anyone in line to get food. You could talk to anyone in the line to the bathroom, to get a drink, to get food, to get gear. You could just talk to anyone. It was an amazing experience. Hoosier fans elevated that experience. And again, everyone saw the screenshots of the crowd in Sig's first game. Everyone saw pictures of the stadium at the end of Tom Allen's reign. And I don't think this is what Sig was alluding to when he said it. Or maybe he does and he's just Nostradamus. But Signetti and the athletic department awoke a sleeping giant. This is what happens when 800,000 people rally together. And I think, regardless what happens next season, Indiana football as a brand and a fan base, because of this experience, isn't going away for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, people laughed when he said, "Why would I go anywhere? It's the emerging superpower of college football." He backed it up literally the very next year. So yeah, just incredible. I agree with everything you guys have said. Again, standing in that line just to board a shuttle, which again was full of IU fans, back to the Hard Rock Casino. I mean, you're singing the fight song 2 or 3 times with everybody. You're doing the hoo 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 chant. I don't even know, 100 times throughout the whole time we're there. I mean, as Brandon said very eloquently multiple times, walk in your trap, take over your trap. And that's what IU did, and then celebrated it with the exact song in the locker room, as they should. So that's it for me, man. Check out the podcast everywhere. It's on TikTok and YouTube now. I'm trying to get some stuff out there, but sometimes Brandon does dances like this and
walk in your trap, take over your trap.
See,
this was me, just the happiest.
Yes. And there's videos. Maybe we'll post some videos. Maybe we'll post videos of Brandon from the night before.
No. I deleted those.
Okay.
No, I was a little bit, even though we didn't drink much at all on game day.
Game day, no.
On game day. But I kind of, just because we were so slap happy, and again, it was a marathon of a day. I kind of looked like Ron Swanson when he's dancing with the hat on.
It's true.
You know, because we're still at the stadium and it's 1:00 in the morning and I'm just deliriously slap happy at that point. I kind of had that vibe going on because I was just so happy. I was just so happy.
As you should be and still are. So yeah, be sure to check out the pod, rate, review, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff, please. It makes us better. It makes the experience better. It makes everything else, makes players getting on here easier, all that stuff. So do that for us. Until then, cheers. National fucking champions.
Walk in your trap, take over your trap.
Cheers.
All right,
a 1, a 2, a you know what to do.
Laser.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.